Hi everyone, welcome to the session with Dr. Neerja Raghavan. Uh, I want to give you a small introduction of this series that we are planning to do. My name is Varnita. I started Varnan Films in 2010, and we completed 10 years. And while we were talking about how to celebrate 10 years, I realized there are so many inspiring stories, so many people who touched our lives in their own special ways, and there is no better way to celebrate our journey, our success, by celebrating their journey. And there is one person who is sitting right here who and for my association with her is not just these 10 years, it's 20 years. It goes back 20 years. She inspired me. She helped me in my life in different ways. I'm very happy that I'm starting this series with you. I call her Neerja Di. I won't be calling her ma'am. She was my principal in school for a very brief period, but that period did something to me. So thank you so much, Neerja Di, for taking time for us.
Thank you, Varnita.
Accepting this invitation.
Thank you. Thank you, Varnita, and congratulations on completing 10 years of Varnan Films. And even heartier congratulations for choosing such a beautiful way to celebrate. That you say celebrating your client's journey is a way of you celebrating your company. That's a beautiful thought.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much. Thank you. When I was thinking about this session and how this conversation will look like, I was very scared to prepare, because I know there is so much that I want to talk to you about. There's so much that I want everybody to know about you and your journey. One of the things which I think will be a good start for me, who has been your student. What according to you is a teacher? I would want to know what your definition of teacher.
So my definition of a teacher is someone who does at least one of these things. One, gets me excited about learning. Two, gets me to believe in my ability to learn. And three, helps me feel connected to him or her in such a way that a world opens up. The world could be just my bonding with the teacher. It could be my bonding with the subject. It could be my bonding with my own self. I may realize aspects of myself which I had not noticed until I came in contact with this teacher. So a teacher could be any of these things. If they are all, even better.
Wow. I can just see so many people suddenly when you were talking about it, like some 100 faces just crossed my vision.
That's nice.
So, this is something I think I learned when I was at Rajghat, that again, like teacher can be, a person, a thing, an experience.
Yes.
I want to know
Yes.
what is that, which was your biggest teacher in life?
Oh, life is my biggest teacher. Life itself. That is true for everyone, right? But life comes to us in the form of people or events or just a chance remark. It could be anything. So a teacher does not have to be a person within the four walls of a classroom. It could be someone much younger. It need not even be a person. It could be a sudden, experience. So my first teacher who really impacted me was my chemistry teacher when I was in grade 9. In my days, we started learning chemistry only in grade 8. So in grade 9, it was my second year of the subject. And this teacher, she walked in to take our first chemistry class. And when she left the class, after taking the class, when she left the room, I turned to my friend sitting next to me and I said, you know what I'm going to do in college? I'm going to do chemistry. So this was the impact of my chemistry teacher in her very first class. She got me so excited about the subject that every evening at home, when I would pack my bags according to the next day's timetable, if there was a double period of chemistry in the timetable for the next day, that double period would almost shine from the timetable. I would feel the whole day was illuminated because of that double period of chemistry. And I would wish all 8 periods could be chemistry because I loved her classes so much. And I had decided in grade 9 that I was going to do chemistry in college and I was going to become a famous chemist and I was going to discover an element called neodymium. I had decided all this. And my friends all knew this. And as the years went by, in my days, we had only up to grade 11. We didn't have 10+2 in my time. So in my grade 11, I was in Delhi. And in those days, we didn't have cable TV. We had Doordarshan, Doordarshan, and Doordarshan. That was it. So on Doordarshan, there was a program one night of the PhD chemistry scholars of Delhi University. And they were being interviewed about their career prospects. And they were like wilting plants. They were drooping. They were like, हमको कोई नौकरी नहीं मिलने वाली है, पता नहीं क्यों chemistry लिया हमने, एकदम बेकार है. They were as negative could be. So I saw that program, and the next morning when I went to school, my friends all circled me, and they said, "So, did you watch the program last night?" I said, "Yes, I did." So they said, "So, what are you going to do in college?" I said, "Chemistry." They said, "Are you crazy? Didn't you see the program? Don't you know you won't get any job if you do chemistry?" And I'll never forget what I said in reply. I said, "You don't understand. I'm not doing chemistry in order to get a job. I'm doing chemistry because I love chemistry." This was the faith my teacher gave me. She gave me a love for the subject and the faith that if you do what you love, the doors will open. Don't worry. Don't think in terms of, in order to get this, let me study this. Don't think in terms of that. She really opened a whole world for me.
Oh.
So that was my first teacher who really impacted me.
Wow. I'm getting goosebumps. I think,
I've told this story so many times, Varnita. Every time I tell it, I get goosebumps. I mean, what an impact she had on me. Yeah.
So
God, she's up and above now, but
yeah. So we're talking about chemistry, and you actually went up. You actually went to do PhD in chemistry from Princeton. And I remember this conversation with you once you were telling me that people always ask, like, after a PhD, you started to teaching. And I also feel there is multiple emotions in this statement. There are people who look down upon this job of teaching. Yes. They think that teaching is not like a career option, and it's very unfortunate because I know some amazing in my life also, and like I'm interviewing one. So there's so many people I met also like in my life per se, right? And what was your reply to that question?
My reply to that question, in fact, this question was asked by my father's colleague in office to my father. And I remember his response. He said, somebody asked me today, agar teacher hi banna tha, to why did she do PhD? And my father responded, what's wrong in being a teacher? So I would say exactly what's wrong in being a teacher. In fact, what's not right in being a teacher, And when I was doing my MSc, I had not yet decided to do a PhD. I was doing my MSc, and in my last semester in my MSc, I was at IIT Kanpur. And IIT Kanpur is a place, probably even today, when the last semester students are just doing GRE and this MAT, SAT, this, that, just to go abroad. Okay. So everybody was focused on getting into a good graduate school in the US. I wasn't. I didn't want to do a PhD right then. So I wondered, what should I do with my life? And then I remembered, I said, this teacher of mine, this chemistry teacher of mine, she taught me 5 years ago in school. And physically, she's no longer with me. I mean, that time she was still alive. Now she's not even on this planet. But physically, she's no longer with me. And yet she's so much with me. She is part of my being. Every day I think of her. Every time I teach, every time I read something in chemistry, I think of her. What an impact she's had on me. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I could impact somebody like this? And so I decided to be a teacher. Then when I taught, in about a year or two, I found I started loving the subject even more. When you teach, actually, that's when you learn. You really learn the subject. So then I felt like doing a PhD. So then I went to do a PhD. When I came back, I said, I still love teaching school children. I tried college teaching for one semester and I ran away. Because, with children, the kind of impact you can have, you can't do that with adults. I mean, they've made up their minds about what they like and what they don't like. It's not easy to change their minds. So, and I was interested in imparting my love for the subject to my students. I found I couldn't do that so easily in college. So I came back to school teaching. So that's my response. If you want to impact young minds, there is no better profession.
Amazing. I think this just takes me back. So I want to tell you that I think you have, like, I'm sure, like, you don't need this confirmation, but I can tell you, somebody who has been on the receiving end, that you have done a fabulous job in
Thank you.
just being this amazing teacher. So I was a commerce student. I want to tell everybody that when I was, I think. So I went to this Krishnamurti school in Varanasi, which is an alternative school, and that's where I met Nijadi for the first time. She was a principal for, I think, 3 months or something. You were
2 years.
No, I think
Vice principal
like we
for 1 year
overlapped,
and
I
1
think,
year.
for 3 months or something, because I remember this was just before the 12th board exams were to happen. That's I think we overlapped for like 4 months or something. You joined in, I think, 2002. Or
I joined in 2001 and left in 2003. End of 2001 and left
correct.
in the
So, yeah,
2003 October. Yeah.
right. So 2002 is when I graduated, like when I did my 12th. So we crossed like for 4 months or so. And
Okay.
I remember in our school, we had this like a very strange rule that board going batches never used to perform in the annual day, which used to happen in February. And I was a dancer,
Ah,
I was a classical dancer, and I went and I said, I worked hard for like 2 years, and how can you ask me not to perform on annual day? And I was really upset, and I was a very rebellious child, and I went and I was fighting, and then I was really upset, and I was coming out of the I think the senior teachers room, and that's when I met
senior school headmistress. Yes.
headmistress, yes. And I was like really grumpy and angry, and then she saw me and she said, what happened? And I told her that this makes no sense, because I worked hard. I don't study 24 hours. And I still have that sentence clear in my head. You said this, you said, are you sure that you want to perform? I said, of course I want to perform, and I have really, like, I have been practicing for 2 years. And then you asked me, like, and you sure that the studies will be fine? I said, yeah. And then you said, okay, then go fight for it. And it was just like, I was like, okay, so I have some, and that's what you did to me, and that stayed with me for rest of my life, right? Even today, every
Thank
time
you.
I really want to fight about something, that's what I do. Am I sure? Do I really want to fight? And then I go ahead and fight for it. So
Oh, nice.
that's what
Thank
you do.
you.
And I'm sure, like, but you do know that you have been an impact on many, many lives.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
So, there's one thing I want to talk about, the project which we did together, how you became my client from my teacher.
Yes.
So this was with Azim Premji Foundation. Do you want to talk more about it? Like, what was the project and
Yeah.
you initiated?
When I was with the Azim Premji Foundation for a number of years, the kind of work I was doing was teacher development, and mainly in science, because that was my subject. And the way we went about it was, we would prepare these modules for teacher development on a particular topic. And then we would go to schools across the country, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and we would transact those modules. And the way it would be organized would be that teachers from government schools would be sent by their principals, which means there'll be names on a list and the teachers would be told, Aapko jana hai, there's a training program. I doubt they were ever asked, would you like to go? Is this a topic of interest to you? No, they would be sent. And they would be sent mostly on a holiday so that they don't miss classes. So we would walk into a room with a hostile audience. Poor things, they had no choice. They couldn't say no to the principal. And that one holiday that they got, they would have to give it up to go and attend this program. But they would be very polite and nice, and they would attend it. And at the end of it, they'd give us very positive feedback and say, "Bahut kuch sikha humne, we'll go back and try this." And then we'd come back to Bangalore, and they'd go back to their schools, and we'd have no idea whether anything that we did actually worked, because there would be no follow-up. I found this a very dissatisfying way of engaging with teachers. Firstly, I felt it was disrespectful to the teacher because not every teacher needs the same kind of capacity development. And we tell teachers that they should not follow a one size fits all with children. They should see the uniqueness of each child. But we don't do that with teachers. We think that we can just tell them what they should do. So I had done some reading and I had read something about action research. Action research, I learned, was a way by which teachers would identify an issue which was bothering them. And then they could be led through this very commonsensical framework. It's just a big name, action research. They could just be facilitated through that for them to explore and find a solution to their issue. So I said, okay, let me try and find out whether this is a better way of engaging with teachers. So with a few of us from the Azim Premji Foundation, mostly those working in the Uttarakhand Field Institute, I worked with 7 teachers in the Azim Premji School in Uttarakhand. It was called Uddham Singh Nagar. It's still there. And these 7 teachers, each of them, we helped them identify an issue which was of interest to them. So each one had, some people said, you know, the children in my class, they are supposed to be in 5th grade, but they still don't know, 6th grade, I think, and they still don't know decimals. They don't know fractions. Okay. There was someone else who said, my kids are supposed to be learning science, but they don't ask any questions. They just take whatever I tell them as God's own truth. I don't think this is science. In science, you should ask. So each one had a different issue. So once they identified the issue, we facilitated their actually going through the action research framework and exploring how to arrive at a solution. And to our amazement, a teacher of 17 years experience, in 4 months, she completed her action research, which was to improve the vocabulary in English of her 5th graders. Not only did she improve their vocabulary, she underwent a transformation after being a teacher of 17 years. And I'll never forget what she said. She said, action research करने से पहले मेरे को लगता था कि syllabus cover करना ही सबसे महत्वपूर्ण चीज है. Action research करते दौरान मेरे को ये समझ में आया कि syllabus cover करें या ना करें उतना important नहीं है जितना कि ये देखना कि हर बच्चा ने समझा कि. I mean, this I think is a tectonic shift for a teacher of so many years experience. And you know, in a conventional teacher development workshop, we would have gone and told teachers covering syllabus is not as important as seeing that every child understands, and the teachers would have nodded, just like how teachers are teaching rote learning. Whereas this was nothing like that. This was an exploration and a discovery that the teacher herself made, and then she will never again be the same teacher. You know? So this was what you helped me make short films, and it came out as a book, The Reflective Teacher. And this really changed my whole thinking about how to engage with teachers. And that's when I started my enterprise called Thinking Teacher and said, this is what I'm going to do. This is what we do mainly with teachers.
Right. And so how long was this duration? Like you went and stayed with these teachers for a long time?
Actually, no, we didn't. We would go once a month. One of us would go. In the beginning, I went and did a one-day workshop for them to explain what action research is. Once they got that, each teacher was assigned a facilitator, and mostly the facilitators were from the Uttarakhand team, so that there wasn't much traveling to do. I went probably twice or thrice in the whole period of 6 months, not more than that. But there was a lot of documentation, which we helped them to do, and this could be done over email. And that's what forms the core of, in fact, section 2 of the book. And that's what you helped us capture through short interviews, which we took these interviews at the end of their action research so that they could go back and reflect on the whole process. In technical terms, it's called reflection in action.
Right.
So they're thinking back on what happened. That was very powerful. Your films were very good.
One of the things which I learned when we were doing it is that videos were so candid. They were just talking to you because you were like part of this whole.
Yes.
And when I was hearing this as an outsider, because for me the first time when I heard it, I figured that each one of them, they were so creative. The kind of games they created, the kind of activities they planned. So it's all like their own.
Absolutely. They came up with these ideas themselves. See, that's the most empowering thing in action research. Because the teacher just needs someone to keep nudging. I always say my job as a facilitator is that of Narad. Narad would just keep prodding. That's all my job is. So if I give you solutions, you're going to feel, oh, if Neeraja is not there, I can't find solutions. That should never be the case. So I should just ask you the right questions. That's my skill. And if as a facilitator, I ask you the right questions and you discover through the process that, Arey, this is quite simple. I mean, I never thought of this earlier. Why didn't I? Which means I can't think of it, you know. So you feel empowered. That's the beauty of this whole process of action research. They did it themselves.
It was I think this is what I love about my job. Absolutely. That, I get to learn so many things and I also get paid for it.
You won't believe it, Varnita. When I first became a teacher, I actually wrote these very lines in my diary. I love what I'm doing and I'm actually getting paid for it.
That's what.
So we are very blessed. We are very blessed. If you have found such work which you love and you wonder why you're even getting paid for it, you are truly blessed.
Yeah, I think this is what happened with me. Like, stories is like my chemistry. And I think I got it from my grandmother and my father. I lived through stories all my childhood. For me, listening to all the stories of my father, my grandmother will tell me stories of different things, and she was this amazing woman, much ahead of her time. And she'll explain me how these superstitions are built. These are actually all stories. And I said, oh, stories are powerful, because if people start to believe
that,
stories
are very powerful.
Yeah, something as silly as that, if you keep the jhadu ulta, then ghar mein ladai hoegi. And she said, jhadu toot jayegi. It's just, sometimes logic.
Simple as that.
People understand. Yes. It's a story. And I said, oh, stories are powerful. Because everybody. And then I said, okay, let's look for good stories. And then Panchatantra played a big role. I used to.
Yes.
My father used to read one Panchatantra story to me. I still have Panchatantra in my office. I always keep one in my studio. So nice. So because we're talking about stories and we're talking about teachers and creative and all, what is the most powerful story you have from any of the teachers or any of the students who came across you?
It's a very good question. There are so many, so I can share with you one of a teacher and maybe one of a student. So the story which I would like to share about a teacher is this teacher who in fact was a couple of years older than me, working in a residential school in Andhra Pradesh. And she was one of my first action researchers, whose action research I facilitated from Thinking Teacher. And her issue was this. She was teaching 4th and 5th grade combined in that school. That's how it is. And the 4th and 5th grade combined, she was asked to teach science. But it's a residential school, and she had previously been the needlework teacher and dining hall manager for the same children. So in the children's mind, she was already this grandmotherly figure who could only teach needlework and khana paka sakti hai, science kahan padhai. That was their mental block. Plus, she had the added disadvantage that she had stepped into the shoes of a very popular science teacher who had left. The former science teacher they really liked. So it's very natural, not only with children but with adults, that once you have a particular teacher for a subject who's a success and another person takes their place, you automatically expect the same thing from the new teacher. She had all these disadvantages, and added to it, she had the disadvantage that she's a very soft person. She can't be firm. So these 9 and 10-year-olds took her for a nice ride. When I observed her first class, it was EVS, it's called EVS, not science. There was no E or V or S happening in her class. The children were just, Akasi, this one is pulling my hair. He's pulling your hair, don't pull the hair. Akasi is pushing the chair, don't push the chair. Yahi ho raha tha, pura 40 minutes, this is what was happening. And at the end of it, naturally, she would come out just holding her head totally drained, and the children would be all over the place. But the same children, when there was a math class, which I observed, models of good behavior. Because that math teacher was a no-nonsense, much younger. From the time she came in, she held their attention 100%. They would all say their tables together, swinging in a rhythm. It was just super. But they said, how kids are, they gauge you in 1 second. They know with whom they can act smart and whom they can. So with this lady, they gave her help. So my first job as an action researcher was to ask her, what is your action research problem? What do you want to do action research in? So she said, I want to do action research in making EVS a lively subject for them and getting them all really engaged. So I said, okay. And in my mind, I thought, oh no, that's not your action research problem. You have a long way to go to get there. But my job is to just, I told you, Narad, I must just ask questions. I don't give answers. So I said, okay, so let me ask you a few questions because the next step is to understand the problem, to analyze it. So I said, why do you think they are not engaged? Is everyone not engaged or are only a few not engaged? So with questions like this, within 10 minutes, she said, oh no, Neeraja, that's not my action research problem. I said, okay, so what's your action research problem? She said, classroom management. I said, bingo, she'd got it. So I said, okay, so let me understand. When you say classroom management, what's your issue? She said, I feel children of their own accord, they should behave well. I shouldn't have to tell them to behave well. I don't want to do that. So I said, okay, now what are you going to teach? What do you have to teach next in EVS? She said, I have to teach Panchayati Raj. I said, oh, that's a great, way of doing two things. You can, why don't you try this idea? You tell your class that we are a village and we have to elect our Panchayat members. And in that members that we elect, we have to elect a Sarpanch and give that elected Panchayat and Sarpanch the job of classroom management. So you'll kill two birds with one stone. You'll get your classroom managed and you will teach them about Panchayati Raj. She was so excited. And next day she went and implemented it and she came out dancing. She said, you know what? Everybody wants to be Sarpanch. Obviously, which kid will not want to be Sarpanch? So she gave them the option that they'll have elections every week, not unlike some of our national governments where we keep changing. So anyway, so every week they had a new, and I came away and she was thrilled and I was thrilled. And after that we were on email and she was writing very positive emails to me. When I went back next month, I used to go once a month, I heard from a parent of her students that one of the students in her class was a parent as well as a teacher in the school. And that parent teacher told me, I don't know if this teacher is aware, the kind of punishments, there's an alternative school. So in alternative schools, punishment was a bad word.
Yeah.
They say consequences. Okay, consequences that. So the consequences which these elected sarpanches were giving to the other children were really harsh. Take 10 rounds around the Maidan in the hot sun. Stand on one leg for 1 hour. And today's sarpanch will say, okay, you gave me this punishment. Hang on. Next week when I'm sarpanch, I'll give you 2 hours. This was the way the children. And the mistake that this teacher made was she didn't keep any control with her. She said, I'm also a villager. So whatever you do, I'll join in. You see, because she was not a firm person by nature. She relinquished all authority. So now I came to know about this. And so obviously I couldn't share this negative feedback with the teacher directly. I had to slowly nudge her to share with me, was she unhappy with anything that was happening? Because she was full of, oh, now the classroom is managed so well, great, I'm able to teach. And then slowly she said, yes, I'm very hurt by the kind of consequences which children are giving to each other. I said, so what do we do? So she said, no, I don't know whether I should continue this Panchayat Raj or not, because some of them want it, some of them don't want it. And she did a poll, and the poll came out 50% saying, yes, we want to continue, 50% saying, we don't want to continue. So she was in a quandary, I was in a dilemma, and my time was up. I came back to Bangalore. And then I started thinking, and I said, what was wrong with this? It was a Neeraja solution. Neeraja solution will work with Neeraja. I should not have given my solution to her. That's when I learned. You shouldn't give your answers. You should only ask questions. So now I read up some more literature on teacher development. And I read one very famous teacher developer researcher who said, action research, the one issue with it is you enter through the doorway of a problem. So you start looking at everything through the lens of a problem. Instead, you should enter through the doorway of the teacher's strengths. Teacher, actually, she had many strengths, like who doesn't? Not one child was scared of her. While I may be a very good teacher, I'm sure there are students who have been scared of me, tend to intimidate. She had that big advantage. She didn't intimidate anybody. And as a grandmother, she had taught her grandchildren very successfully one-on-one. So one-on-one, she had no issues. It was when she had a class that she got intimidated and she couldn't be firm. So when I shared this with her, she said, yes, but that's exactly my issue. No one is scared of me. So they all take me for a ride. I said, no, but that's also a strength. So why don't you see how to work with them one on one? And to her credit, because it's a residential school, she used every opportunity to work with children one on one. She called a naughty boy who seemed to be very naughty in class but was interested in Bhagavad Gita chanting. She said, come after hours, I'll teach you chanting. So because she did that, he started behaving better in class. She asked a girl who was not good in written work but very good with her hands to have her own garden patch. And that girl did such a good job of the garden patch that now she was praised with everybody. So she started working better with her hands. Like this, she did different things with each child. In 1 month, Varnita, you won't believe, magical transformation. When I went and observed her class next, EVS was actually happening. And now she went back to her original action research problem. And she said, now, how do I teach this topic in a more vibrant way? How do I get children to ask more questions? How do I get them to engage with questions? Now, her focus shifted from classroom management to making the class livelier.
Right.
And in a matter of 4 months, she became a teacher that the kids said, Akka, please move up with us to grade 6. We don't want to lose you. She became that teacher. This was the real success story with action research. I learned something, she learned something. Yeah, it was magical.
And also students, like they must be like, for them,
yes, they love her.
This is going
they
to
love
be
her to this day.
Yes. It sounds amazing. And you said you also want to share one story of the student.
Yes. So this is a kind of, I'm a little embarrassed to share it because I come through very well and I don't mean to be promoting myself. But this is a story which really touches my heart because I say it kind of comes full circle and it also sort of validates my philosophy on the profound impact of a teacher across generations, which is why I have such great respect for this profession. You see, my chemistry teacher, she not only inspired in me a love for chemistry, she inspired in me a love for teaching. She determined my choice of the subject as well as my career. That is the extent of impact she had on me. Okay. And through this development of internet and Google and so on, less than 5 years ago, I realized that I had had the same impact on one of my students. And how I came to know this was in Canada. She's now in Canada and she's a chemistry teacher. And through some network, she found me. And she wrote to me and said, I taught her for 1 year when she was in grade 12. I taught her chemistry. And she said, I have talked about, many of my teachers have impacted me. But over and over again, the one teacher I've constantly talked about is you. You are the reason I took up chemistry in college. And you are the reason I'm a chemistry teacher today. So you see, it came full circle.
Yeah.
My chemistry impacted me and I impacted someone and she must be impacting others. So I always say the most powerful people are not the politicians. They are not the Ambanis and the Tatas with their wealth. I mean, they are definitely powerful. I'm not decrying, I'm not belittling them. But I think the most powerful people are teachers because they can impact minds across generations.
So one of the things which you just mentioned about, this just coming to a full circle. And I'm just thinking because, this whole conversation also started about, from, you being my teacher and, also like, how you impacted my life. And I think there is a part of you which stayed with me. There's a part of us which stayed with
Thank
me.
you.
I live this even today. And so I see this, now when I work with my team members, I always try to kind of just ask questions. I never give them, an answer because whenever they're stuck somewhere, I said, please don't ask me, don't discuss problems with me. Let's just discuss solution, because if there is a problem, there are solutions available. So when you were saying this, and I started to think that, so few things, I think also like, when I went to Rajghat, that also changed something, in me because
yes.
You were just free to say that you don't something, and and that was welcomed. So that I think, So tell me about thinking teacher. What what is a thinking
Yes.
teacher? I see
Yes. Yes.
when I asked you about the success story, you were thinking. In my mind, I thought that this is a thinking teacher right now. So
Yeah. So how this name came about was, I'm sure you've had teachers like that. I've had many teachers who teach the same subject year in and year out to different batches of students. They can become so efficient at it that they don't have to prepare. They don't even have to think about it. उल्टे हाथ का काम. कल ये पढ़ाना है, अरे मैंने तो सालों से पढ़ाया है ये. I can teach it like that. So they start becoming so efficient that they stop thinking about what they're doing. And a teacher who stops thinking is a very dangerous teacher to have, because a teacher stops thinking, students stop thinking. It is when that pulsating mind is so visible in the teacher that the student will also say, I can feel it. I also want to think, So I felt that this action research, as I described to you, a 17 years experienced teacher suddenly felt a tectonic shift in the way she approached teaching. A senior citizen could now, through action research, say, I'm going to be able to teach a subject better now. I felt that if there's one way in which I can get, whether it's a fresh teacher or an experienced teacher, to take a fresh look and start thinking afresh about teaching, about learning, about the subject, this is it. So that's when I felt the name Thinking Teacher and the whole framework of action research, they were all very aligned. They kind of overlapped. And in fact, reflection is also, what is it but thinking? So the book, The Reflective Teacher, which was an outcome of that research project on action research, it really puts together all this, explains why something as simple as just thinking through with the framework of action research helps a teacher look afresh at his or her profession, the subject, what is learning, what is teaching. I think these are things we should never close the doors to. We should keep thinking about it.
There's one more thing which I remember. I think you mentioned in a last conversation also sometime back that I was asking about teaching versus learning, and then you said, why can't it happen together? It's not like versus. It has.
Yes.
To.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
That was like a very powerful statement. That yeah.
Again, absolutely. I mean, most teachers will resonate with this, that their students have taught them a lot. And I can give you a simple example. I'm talking of something that happened 30 years ago. Okay. And this is a student of mine who's still in touch with me. And at that time, she was 8 years old. She was in grade 3. And I was teaching them germination. And for germination, the usual thing we do, we ask children to take a little matchbox and put a cotton pad and water and moong dal or a matar, usko dal ke they germinate it. Yeah. So they do it at home and then they bring it to school. This kid, she came to me and she said, I'll never forget the sparkling eyes. She said, teacher, my seed, it has a root and it has a shoot. And she said it with such sparkling eyes. I experienced in that moment the wonder of life, Otherwise, I was teaching the parts of a plant. It has a root, it has a shoot, it has a stem, it has a leaf. But here she was bringing out to me the miracle, from the fresh eyes of an 8-year-old. She taught me the wonder all over again.
Yeah, you still remember
Teaching
it.
And learning have to happen together. Yes, I still remember it after 30 years.
Beautiful. Adi, tell me about your books. What happened? Like, did you plan to write a book, or because the journey was such that you thought that this can be documented? How did it happen? Like writing books for you?
So there was a history to it, in the sense that, as I told you in the beginning, in Azim Premji Foundation, when I was doing the traditional way of teacher development, which is preparing workshops and going and transacting, I would go on the net to find literature, of teachers' experiences. And I hardly ever found something of an Indian teacher, because there wasn't any, or there was very little. And this would really disappoint me, because every time I took a Western example, I could almost see the doors of the teachers' minds closing.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking, don't blame them, would be, वहाँ पे ये सब हो सकता है. हमारे देश में ना हमारा board exam है, ये we can't do. I don't blame them. It was not their context. So I felt there is a great need, if we want teachers in our country to grow, They need to connect with indigenous stories, with stories which are contextual. Where are these stories? Not enough of them in the literature yet. So I said, and this I made as my mission, Vernita. For how many years I have left on this planet, you can see my white hair. I want to increase, to the extent that I can, the documentation by teachers and for teachers in India. We need that. So when I did that research project of facilitating action research with 7 teachers in Azim Premji School, yes, I had the plan right when I started it, saying this is going to come out as a book. Because only then, when people say scaling up, I don't like to scale up by working with large numbers. I like to work with small numbers, because that's when the quality of my work doesn't suffer. Right. But scaling up is easy if it is published as a book. It's ये कोई rocket science नहीं है. The framework is very simple, and if people read that book and see the actual examples of teachers' case studies, they can do it themselves. This is the best way to scale up. So all my books are coming from that philosophy. Just read what other teachers are doing. You can try that, or maybe you can do something different. I'll help you write that. Others can learn from
me. Writing something right now also?
Well, right now, what has happened is, one of the latest books I co-authored with 2 of my colleagues, Kamla Anil Kumar and Vinita Sood. It was a compilation of 10 stories called Teaching Tales, Learning Trails. So that was a set of stories all built around teaching and learning. So it brought in the parents' point of view, the students' point of view, exams, and then, a new teacher and principal, blah, blah. So that book, actually, the first section is stories, and the second section is a discussion of the stories by groups of principals, students, parents, teachers. Now, we found that teachers read the stories, not many of them read the discussion. Our whole idea is to get teachers to reflect. Okay? So now what we have started doing is, we've developed a kind of a board game, which is based on one of the stories. And there are, as we are speaking, there are 2 teams of 3 teachers each playing this game online. Nowadays, dunia hi online ho gayi, hai na? Right. So they are playing online, and they're reading the story, and they're answering questions on cards about the stories, and they're exchanging their thoughts.
Wow.
If this works out well, who knows, this may turn into another book or another bigger game, I don't know. But definitely there's something which is going to come out of this.
This game sounds really fun, actually. So people who are watching,
it is fun, yeah.
You guys think that you want to know more about this game and her books, you know where to find her. I will put the link also in the description. It will also be on the screen somewhere. We'll put it somewhere here. And apart from this, if people want to get in touch with you and they want to know more about Thinking Teacher, if there is there something like they need to enroll for the program? How do people get in?
Yeah, so we have a contact address on our website, which you are going to show. And once they get in touch there, they can, in fact, on the website, there are the courses offered and the workshops offered. And there are, most of them in the olden days were face-to-face, but now we are transforming them into online versions. So presently, there is a very successful course for teachers, which we are offering, called Reflective Writing for Teachers. Okay. And I don't take more than 10 teachers at a time, and we are right now going into our 4th batch. So that is, yeah, teachers are really enjoying that. That may also be compiled at some point, teachers writing, because then it's really live. It's what teachers are feeling now, about their work. And we, as I said, and can't stop saying, we don't have enough of that in our country.
I was just, because you were saying that, you take a group of 10 people, going this online way, is this helping you? Because I'm thinking now you can have like such a diverse group. You can have people from different things. Is it helping?
Yes, yes. In that sense, it is helping, yes. Because there are people, and I don't have to commute, go to their school, set up things. It's all online. But like everything, the yin and the yang, the negative is that we do miss out on that face-to-face. There is a bonding which happens when you're face-to-face, which it takes time to happen when it's online. I won't say it doesn't happen, but it takes time. And then there are all these technological issues like, the power, the audio, the video. Like I've got to go and fix my webcam. I don't know why it's not working now on my laptop. So there are all these issues.
I can imagine. So this is wonderful. I'm so happy that we had this conversation, and I'm sure we are going to do more with you, because education also is something that that I feel very connected to. And maybe, as we go, and this is also something, this will be nice to come from people who are watching this. If you suggest that the kind of discussions we can have here. Uh, we know we have one person always here, where who can come on the. So one of the things which I was discussing also earlier with you, that something I want to do is also to have discussions, because this is more
Yes.
one-on-one,
Yes.
but discussions,
Yes.
because so many people, I'm sure, when they have thoughts,
Yes.
they don't know where
Yes.
to go. And sometimes people also need validation of their thoughts, because it's just not like a
Yes.
regular thought otherwise. So I
Yes.
think we should do more of these sessions. We should do more of discussions. I'll also
Definitely.
kind of create a platform where people can come and have uh, right kind of discussions for them. And right, when I'm saying right, it's not like defining something right, but right what they feel that they can have,
Yes.
like right, the space basically, where people can come and have these discussions. And
Definitely, Vanita.
this will
Good
be
idea.
amazing. Is there anything, just to kind of conclude this, is there anything that you want to pass on a message to people who are students or teachers, or I think everybody is a student and teacher both. So,
Yes, yes, you're so right. Absolutely. Everybody is a student and a teacher. And I would just welcome, this kind of discussion that you are proposing. And all I can say is let us keep thinking about teaching and learning. Let us never stop doing that, because when we stop doing that, it's no longer teaching or learning. It's just a mechanical absorption. Here, probably we are getting this kind of a hiatus of face-to-face interaction to allow us to pause, press the pause button, and think. So let's do that.
so on this note, I want to thank you once again. I think I can't.
Thank you, Varnita. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
giving me this opportunity.
Oh,
And I would like to wish Varnan Films the greatest success in the years to come.
thank you so much. So on this note, I wish everybody a thinking day, and I hope to see you all very soon again back here. Having some more conversations about totally different part of the world, and we'll see you again. Bye, bye, Dee. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, Varnita.